Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Home Service Headquarters. We're so happy to have you here, and I am so glad to have Alan Lee on the show today. He is the owner of Honestly Handyman out of Roseville, California. He's been doing that since 2016. He's also a handyman business coach through his business Handyman Journey. And most recently, he co-founded the Handyman Champion CRM. I'm so excited to talk to him about his handyman business, handyman coaching, as well as his new CRM he just launched. Alan, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, what's up, Taylor? Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
I'm super excited, man. I feel like you've literally done it all. You've run the business, you've helped other people run their business, and now you're producing a tool to even further that goal of helping handymen on their journey to running a successful, profitable business. It's so cool. Just to start off, I'd love for you to share your story with the listeners of how did you get into this handyman industry?
Yeah, so it's been a very fun and eventful journey, and definitely nothing that I had planned, like absolutely crazy. So back in 2009, I went to college to become an auto mechanic. And so I kind of started my career as an auto mechanic, and I worked for a dealership. I worked for a few shops. I worked for a farm as a head mechanic there. And, one day I was just looking for ways to make extra income. And I think we had signed up for like a personal development seminar that we couldn't really afford. So we put it on a credit card. And I was looking for ways to kind of pay that off. And so I'm like, well, what could I like offer to make extra income? And I'm like, well, I kind of grew up doing handyman work for like my mom and my neighbors and et cetera, like replacing garbage disposals and faucets and, dishwashers. I'd never done any of that like legitly. And so kind of I created this really horrible looking ad, and then I posted it on Facebook and said, hey, I'm offering handyman services starting today. And, one guy that actually used to work for that owned an auto shop, his daughter reached out to me and she had a kitchen that she needed to, remodel. And I'm like, well, I've never remodeled a kitchen, but sure, I'll do it.
Oh, wow.
So,
what a project.
Yeah, this is my very first project, remodeling this kitchen. And it was really nice because she understood that I'd never done that before, but I kind of had the general idea of it. So I think I pulled a number out of thin air. I told her, I'd do it for $50 an hour. And basically I did my day job. And then, I was an auto mechanic. And then after that, I would work 4 hours, in the night for her. And she'd pay me $200. And, we just would knock it out night by night by night. And it probably took over the course of 2 months to get this thing done. Because some days, we'd be waiting on cabinets or we'd be waiting on flooring or et cetera. And it was a very interesting learning process. And then in the meantime, she started referring me to other people. Other people saw me on Facebook. I think I created a free Yelp account at that point. And I started doing a bunch of other projects just in the evenings. And then it was probably, I think that was August of 2016. So coming around when it came closer to December of 2016, I kind of had this idea of wanting to start it full time. So me and my wife sat down and we're like, well, if we want to start this full time, I really need to devote like so much time to this. So we sat down and we're like, this is going to suck, but I need to devote every night and every weekend for the whole month of December to handyman stuff. And that's what I did. Every night, every weekend I was working. There's pictures of me like with a headlamp on, like, weed eating someone's, weeds in front of their house at 9 o'clock at night. Like it was kind of crazy, those, crazy early days.
Was this still quitting your job? So you had 2 jobs, but you were working every night and every weekend on the handyman side. Wow.
Yeah, it was kind of fun. I remember I would be like at my bay in my auto shop, and I would take off my auto uniform and put on the Honestly Handyman uniform. And it was like Batman or Superman. I was changing into my different costume. And then I'd go out and work in the evenings, and then went full-time January 1st, 2017. I quit my job as an auto mechanic like December 29th, 30th, whatever the last day or whatever was. And then started up January 1st of 2017 as a handyman. And man, that was eye-opening because I still didn't know what the heck I was doing. Like I remember there was my very first job, January, 1st, 2017. I was replacing some lights for a client, but it turns out that these lights were controlled by a ballast, which I had no clue about. And I was like up in this client's attic watching a YouTube video of how to, because I had the general idea. It's just I had never encountered a ballast before. So my whole first week was like that of like
Wow.
learning things that I thought I knew, but I didn't. But we made it through, and yeah, it's been absolutely fantastic. It's been a huge journey for sure.
That's crazy. That's an amazing story, man. And I feel like so many of our listeners can relate to that because, um, you start having this idea of a business you want to launch, and then you have risk there. Like maybe you were doing it for fun, but then as soon as you start considering doing it full time, there's a risk. Will it provide for me? Will it provide for my family? How did you think through that? Did you run numbers? Was there a point where you're like, I just have to make this leap? Like it could fail, but you have to rip the Band-Aid off at some point. How did you think through whether or not you were going to dive in?
Well, most of it was denial. I talked to probably hundreds of handyman, a month, and it's very interesting because I hear from a lot of people that, they're like looking into their numbers and they're being very analytical. And I'm like, man, I was not like that at all. And some of it was to my detriment. Some of it was good, but like, I'm not good at being cautious. So I'm very adventurous. I just went for it, like blindly. Like I said, I pulled a number out of thin air, $50 an hour. And I'm like, that's what I'm going to charge. Because I was making $25 an hour at my day job. And I'm like, $50 an hour sounds great. I had no backing for that whatsoever. I didn't know what my expenses were. I didn't know anything. And so a lot of it was very just naiveness of just hopping into it. And it took me a few years to finally realize that I was like in over my head on this. And I, for one, wasn't charging enough. And then for two, like I had no clue how to run an actual business. So it was very interesting. But if I knew now what if I knew, back then what I do now, like it'd be a lot different. But I also did it before I had any kids, anything like that. So that was a lot easier. I mean, I had a wife, but she came along for the ride. She's a fantastic trooper, but I think that helped a lot. But yeah, I didn't know anything.
That's awesome. So maybe you'd help coach people a little bit differently than you did, not fully blindly.
Yeah.
But it worked out for you. And it seems like maybe one thing you did was you started building a brand before you fully ripped the Band-Aid off. You had some Facebook posts, you had some clients, and the word of mouth funnel was already kind of starting to pick up.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Yeah. So I think that was the biggest thing. I remember because I was talking to my financial advisor. I think this was before December of 2016. And I was telling him about this. I'm like, yeah, I'm just going to go full time in this business. And he's like, well, do you have a week lined up of work? And I'm like, no, like, I'm just going to go for it. And he's like, Alan, that's a stupid idea. Like you need to have some work lined up before you go full time. So it was good having him to speak some life into me. And then that's why we decided to like spend all of December like focused on this. And I think at that point I started paying Yelp for advertising. And then so by the time December ended, I had about a week, full of like full-time work in January. So that was good, like starting my business with a week of full-time work, So there was a little bit of planning that came into there, but it wasn't on my behalf. It was my financial advisor who was like, hey, that's a stupid idea. So
and a week, that's still taking a leap of faith, even with a week of work. You're looking at week 2 and 3 thinking, I hope more stuff comes up. Okay,
it is crazy because I was booked out for a week and then I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to do, but it kept coming. So like a week, by the end of that week, we were booked out another week and then we were booked out another week and it just continued going until at one point we were booked out for like 2 months. Like it worked out really well because we were offering really high quality stuff for very, very cheap. We were $50 an hour, which I thought was crazy. And I'm like, oh, people are loving it because I'm booked out for 2 months. But what I found out later was if you're booked out for 2 months, like there's probably something wrong with your business. You're probably
Yeah.
not charging enough for one. It's good on one end because you know you're giving a good high quality service, and people are just eating it up because it's super cheap. You know,
If you were still $50 a month, I would pay to fly you to Minneapolis to do some jobs for me.
for
Uh,
sure.
okay, so then that's just you. You maybe a van at that point, or a truck, or your little sedan. How did it then grow to be this multi-truck, multi-van business? What was that journey towards that first decision? Maybe I need another person, and then continuing to expand.
Well, I mean, I think it came from, I was kind of doing all this backwards because I didn't figure out the pricing thing until much later. But I did realize I was booked out. I was booked out for like 2 months. So I'm like, oh man, So, and I had all these leads coming in, and I kind of saw a potential of like, man, I could make more money here. So what I did is I got a bunch of 1099 guys,
Hmm.
and I had 1099 guys that I was, paying to go do certain jobs. So basically what would happen is leads would come in. I would email the leads to my 1099 guys. They would handle it. Then they would bring me the checks, and we would basically, split the money with them based on kind of what we decided. So I think at one point I had 6 1099 guys going around. But I found out after I was kind of digging into all of this that the way I was treating them was kind of illegal. I was treating them like a W-2 employee, but I was paying them like a 1099. So it was not correct whatsoever. So kind of during that time is when I started realizing about business and learning about business. And it was, that must have been somewhere around 2018, 2019, where I started learning kind of like, hey, my pricing is incorrect. I'm not making enough money. And then also I'm treating these guys like W-2 employees, but I'm only paying them as 1099. And I read one book, The E-Myth Revisited by Michael Gerber, which just blew my mind. It was all about creating systems and processes. And so at that point, I created a system for my CSR, and that was my very first hire, was a lady in the office to answer the phones, answer the emails, because that was another one of my problems is I was so busy that I wasn't answering phone calls. Like I was just so busy. And so people would call, they'd leave voicemails, they'd leave texts. I would never get back to them. Like it sounds horrible to say. And then after a week, after 2 weeks, I'd be like, I need to get back with Jim. But I'm like, I can't get back with him now. It's been too long. Like that'll be embarrassing. And so I kind of like dug this really deep hole for myself, where I saw on Facebook one time. I was in one of the Facebook groups, and someone had recommended me, hey, call Honestly Handyman. He does great work, super cheap. And someone else replied to that comment and said, no, don't call Honestly Handyman. He doesn't call you back. And I'm like, oh, like that's crazy. And so I started seeing a reputation that, hey, don't call Honestly because he doesn't call you back. And I'm like, I can't refute that. They're totally right. So that's when I started getting into the E-Myth, learning about kind of these systems and processes and how that's what my business was lacking, because it was all relying on me. It was all in my head, and I was trying to do everything while doing the actual work. So I created my first system and hired my CSR to handle all the phone calls, the emails, the thank you cards, the follow-ups. And that was so amazing. I remember the day I hired her, I gave her my laptop and the phone number. We had a Google Voice phone number. And I said to her, I probably shouldn't have said it this way, but I said, here you go. It's your problem now, And I probably shouldn't have said it that way, but that's kind of how it felt because it was a big problem of mine. But that was kind of the start to the whole thing. And then shortly after that, I hired a technician. One of our 1099 guys, we hired him as a W-2 technician. And then we kind of just grew from there. I started really digging into, because hiring these employees gave me more bandwidth to focus to work on the business rather than in the business. And it was at that point, like I had been doing YouTube for, I think I started up the YouTube pretty close to when I started the business, and people started following this, like where I was starting to like change my mindset and focus more on systems and processes and figuring out my pricing and marketing and sales. And people started asking me, hey, how do you do this stuff? Like you're learning this stuff. Why don't you teach me this stuff? And I was just a couple steps ahead of them. So I really didn't feel qualified to like teach them. So I was kind of helping guys out. through the chat section on YouTube. People were emailing me, people were calling me. And so that kind of birthed this whole handyman journey coaching, business coaching. And that has grown tremendously over the years, where people have been coming to me to figure out how I systematize things, how I price things, how I sell things. And it's just been really fun, because that kind of birthed in me, like, there was this huge need in the handyman industry. Um, like there's customers out there that need handyman, for one, and then most handymen are just handyman. Like, they start up a handyman business because they know how to do handyman work, just like I did, right? I know how to replace the kitchen faucet, so I'm going to put it out there that, hey, I can replace kitchen faucets. But they don't know anything about business. They're like where I was back in 2016. They don't know anything about business. They don't know anything about pricing. They don't know anything about sales or marketing or systematizing. So I'm like, man, like, I really have this vision of, like, what if we could take the handyman industry as a whole and really upscale it to kind of the point where plumbers and HVAC and electricians are, and really make a name for the handyman industry. And it's been really fun over the last 9 years to kind of see that grow. And now we're seeing, handyman businesses that are crossing the $1 million mark, per year, and really having systems and processes and high quality uniforms and branded vehicles. Like, it's just super cool to see this handyman industry really taking off and growing. And it's been a really fun, like, thing to be a part of the handyman industry. So I really enjoyed it. It's been
That's
awesome.
so cool. So when you posted that first YouTube video, what were you thinking? Like, what I'm working on is cool and maybe someone will like watching this? Or did you already have a thought that maybe you could be helping other people in their handyman journey?
No, I had no thought at all. I think it's kind of like, I'm kind of like that dog that just chases the squirrel. And once you get the squirrel, you're like, what do I do with it? So I remember, I was watching, so I loved YouTube at the time. And there was a few handyman YouTubers that I'd watch, like, them do work and stuff like that. And that was super helpful for me to, like, understand how to do things. But I also watched this other guy, this other YouTube creator. His name is Peter McKinnon. And at that time in 2017, there was this weird challenge. I don't know why this challenge was, but it's a challenge about eating a lemon, and then, like, you eat it live on camera, so the camera sees your
I
face, like,
remember that. Yeah,
you know,
that's crazy. I do
right?
remember that.
And so there was all these things, like, all these people made these weird videos about different ways of eating the lemon. I remember one guy smashed it with a hammer, and the juice, like, went in his mouth, like. So anyways, Peter McKinnon, he had this idea of making this kind of artistic video of, it would be him getting this lemon from the grocery store, and then the lemon, like, runs away from him. And he's, like, chasing this lemon down, like, this mountain, across this stream, and this and that. And finally he gets home, he catches the lemon, and he eats it, right? Um, well, he was telling his wife, he's like, man, I really want to do this, but, it's raining outside. He had all these excuses, right? He was telling his wife. And finally his wife said, just shut up, Peter, just go chase the stupid lemon. and to me, that really stuck with me. And my wife was watching the video with me, and I had been telling her about this YouTube thing. I'm like, it'd be really cool to do a YouTube channel, but I had all these excuses. So she looked at me right after she heard that, and she said, Alan, chase the lemon, And so I got my phone. You can go back on my YouTube channel, watch my very first YouTube video. It's like me with my phone in front of my tool trailer, and it's just like horrible quality. I didn't know what the heck I was talking about, but I chased the lemon, and it's been super fun. I think that's been kind of the overarching thing of this whole handyman journey. It's really grown me as a person, because it's forced me to chase the lemon in many other situations. Like, when I want to become a better man or a better person or a better father, like, chase the lemon, do the hard things that you need to do, and learn the things that you need to learn, so that you can become a better person. And you can become the person that provides better for your family. You can become the person that creates a legacy for your family. You can be the person that God designed you to be, and do the things that you're feeling God calling you to do. So it's been a really cool journey that goes way beyond just the handyman space.
That's so cool. It sounds like maybe honestly, life coaching is going to be a spin-off business for you after Handyman Journey. All right, I want to dive into some questions that I think, um, especially new business owners and new handymen are going to have. Um, the first being, um, what does it take? What did it take for you to just get started? What are some of the, I guess, let's start first, financial investment or even physical tools. Do you need a van? Do you need some cash? Do you need a certain amount of tools to start a handyman business?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. And I've talked to people who have this, so sometimes people get caught in what I call the paralysis of the analysis. They're trying to figure out the right way to do something, and they think about it so long that they end up not doing it.
Mm.
So I want to put that caveat out there that don't think about this too long that you don't do it. Because I love what Chip Gaines says is that when's the best time to plant a tree? Well, yesterday, right? Or last week was the best time to plant a tree. But when's the second best time to plant a tree? Right now. Just do it right now. So there is some value in just jumping and chasing that limit and just going for it. But then there's also some value in doing your research and figuring out that you're doing it correctly. But you have to have that balance. So when you're coming to financial investment starting, all I had was a 98 Ford Ranger. We called it the Danger Ranger, right? This is what I had. I had a red Ford Ranger. It's my very first truck. I learned on it. Stick shift manual, awesome truck. V6 3.0, if anyone is nerding out on cars like me, great truck. That's the truck I started the business with because that's what I had. And I just started with that. I had a few tools, like my wife had bought for Father's Day a few years back. I think Ace Hardware was having a deal where you could get two Milwaukee M12, one drill and one impact. So she bought me that for Father's Day like many years ago. And so I started off with literally that. And I had wrenches and stuff like that for my automotive job. But those are the tools that I started with. Like so much so that when I went to that first job and I was doing a kitchen remodel, we were putting down new subfloor in her kitchen. And I was using that M12 impact to drive the 3-inch screws down into the framing, and it was like, it was not having it right. But I finished up that day. She gave me $200 on my way home. I swung by Home Depot and I picked up a Milwaukee M18 impact, my very first like real tool. And the next day I came back, finished up the subfloor. It went so much quicker because I had the tool. And then I remember, a few weeks later, someone called me up. They wanted me to do some fascia boards on the front of their house. Well, I didn't have a miter saw. So we went to Harbor Freight and we bought a miter saw the night before I did that fascia job. Since then, I've grown and I've bought more expensive miter saws, but that was how I started out. So I would say you don't need to have a fully outloaded truck, but buy the tools as needed. So if you have the basic hand tools that allow you to do basic work, start doing that. If someone, asks you to do something that requires a tool that you don't have, see if you can afford to pick it up. I recommend paying cash for everything. I don't take debt out for anything. I'm a huge Dave Ramsey guy. So everything, all my trucks, everything have been cash paid for in cash. I recommend that. You don't have to go out and buy $3,000 worth of tools before you start. You can literally start with the tools that you have probably in your garage, even if it's your wife's pink hammer. Like, just take the pink hammer out of your wife's purse and go start a handyman job. You'll get a better hammer down the road. But humble beginnings, there's something to that. And then the Danger Ranger I loaded everything in the back of that Danger Ranger. And I think maybe a few months in, I bought some magnets off of Vistaprint that said Honestly Handyman and then my phone number. And then I put those on the side of the Danger Ranger. And that was kind of my advertising for probably 2 years, and it wasn't a very good design either. But it's like, it was what I didn't even have a logo at that time. It literally just said Honestly Handyman. And then in the back of my truck, I had all my tools. So I had my garage was full of all my tools and all that other stuff. So every night I'd have to take all my tools out of my truck and put them in my garage and put them back into my truck every night. So that was kind of a pain, but probably 2 years in or so, I bought myself a 5x8 tool trailer and started building that out. And it's cool because if you have humble beginnings and then you get something cool like a tool trailer or a new miter saw, it's like makes it all that more exciting because it's like, oh wow, now I don't have to, now that I have a tool trailer, I don't have to take my tools out of my truck every night.
Yeah.
Like it's like you've hit a whole nother level in your business. So it's exciting hitting those wins, but I would recommend starting out slow with what you have and then just slowly building up as you build the cash up to invest in these things.
I love that. That's great advice, and I love how approachable that makes it feel. Like, all right, your first job, maybe you just need one tool. You either have it or you get one tool for that job, and then the next job, and then the next job, and all of a sudden, over the course of 6 months, you've built out a larger tool chest than you've had. And I like what you said about not going into debt for that. Not that you can't be successful. With that, but that you don't have that hanging over your head. You didn't spend $10,000 on tools and $20,000 on a van. And then all of a sudden you're 30 grand in and you're thinking, I gotta make it. Like if I don't get X number of jobs this month, I can't make my minimum payment on those things. So that approach makes it feel so much more approachable for people who are considering starting this out and people who are considering just doing this as a side hustle. For those people who are just starting out and they're like, yes, I'm going to do this, whether that's as a side hustle or I'm ripping off the Band-Aid January 1st and I'm going all in, I'm chasing the lemon. Once they've made that decision, you've already mentioned a couple things you did, but they don't have a brand and they don't have a Facebook page. They don't have a Yelp. They don't have a website. What are the first maybe 3 things you would tell them to do to get their first client and then their first word of mouth referral and then slowly start that engine going?
Yeah, definitely. And one thing I wanted to mention about the vehicle and starting up, so kind of go back a second, if that's okay, is I have a friend, the Land Park Handyman, Mark Holland. Shout out to him. If you're in Sacramento, check him out, Mark Holland, Land Park Handyman. He's a great guy. So he has I think they have a Honda Odyssey or a Toyota Sienna, and he has 4 kids. And that vehicle is their vehicle. So, but it's also his work vehicle. So he has to, every day, he has to figure out, okay, who am I taking? How many kids am I taking to school, this and that, and then take them to school and then come home, put the seats down and then load everything up with his tools and then go out to work. So that's what he's doing right now, but he's currently working on buying, a Ford Transit so that he can transition. But you can start no matter. I know people that have started up in a Prius, people that start up in a Ford Focus. Like, it doesn't matter. You can make it happen. And oftentimes excuses are just well-planned lies. Like, excuses are just things that we throw out there because we don't actually want to put in the hard work to make things happen. So you can do it. Just believe in yourself. So as far as getting like your first leads and things like that, man, I so wish I could speak to myself back in 2016 because it would be awesome. But okay. So first thing you got to do is create a Google business profile. That's going to be your massive like landing page online. So, and what that is, it gets you in the map pack on Google. So when someone goes in and says, handyman near, Austin, Texas, it's going to come up with a whole bunch of map packs. So kind of like, to give you an example, when you type in haircut near Austin, Texas, it'll come up with Supercuts or whatever other haircut places they have in Austin, Texas. Those are all Google business profiles. So you want to create a Google business profile for your business. There's a few things that you need to get figured out so that Google can verify you. And Google is very intricate on that. So you want to work with Google, make sure you get things figured out. I also want to give
a free thing, or you have to pay for that?
No, great question. It is free. So Google business profile is completely free. One thing I want to shout out is go check out my good friend Jason Call over at Handyman Marketing Pros. He has a free Google business profile like optimization sheet that you can download off of handymanmarketingpros.com. Fantastic, really thorough. This guy's very thorough about walkthrough of helping you out. So Google business profile, completely free. You want to create one and then just like make that your job. Like, you've got to get that verified. Because the reason why that's so important to get verified is that's the place where you gather reviews. So once you get that verified, you want to ask every single client, even if you've done a kitchen faucet 10 years ago for your mom, ask her to leave you a review on Google business profile. Because the more reviews you get, the more Google will show your Google business profile to other people when they type in handyman near Austin, Texas, or whatever it is. So Google business profile is huge. That's something I didn't know about for quite a while. And then another thing is Facebook. I mean, maybe I'm a boomer, but I use Facebook. I know a lot of younger people don't use Facebook; they use Instagram or TikTok, or you know, those kids and them TikToks. You know, they're all. But the biggest thing is get the word out about your handyman business in whichever avenue that is. Maybe you gotta send out a smoke signal or put a carrier pigeon out there, right? But get the word out about your handyman business. The way that I did it is I created a really crappy looking flyer and I posted it on Facebook and to all my friends. And the way that you do it is post it on your personal page and like ask people, say straight up, hey, I'm starting this thing from scratch. If you can share this on your Facebook profile, it will mean the world to me. And your uncle, your aunt, your mom, your dad, they're going to share this on their Facebook page, and they have access to a whole bunch of different people that you don't have access to. And who knows, right? Like maybe your aunt that lives across the world, she might happen to know someone that lives in the town or around the town that you actually live in and operate in. You never know who people know. Like it's actually a really small world. So people know a whole bunch of people. So get the word out there on Facebook, and then also join local Facebook community groups. So I'm here in Roseville, California. So there's one, Good Neighbors of Roseville, or there's another one, Crime Watch of Roseville, whatever, right? Join all these groups because there's always going to be people in there asking, hey, I need this pergola assembled. I need these curtain rods put up. Does anyone know a handyman? And sure, it's going to get inundated with all these people that come out of the woodworks. Like you didn't even know they existed. They just like squirm out of the ground. Oh yeah, I can do it. I can come over right now for $20, like blah, 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 blah. But the key to winning the jobs is to show up differently than all those other people that are coming out of the woodwork. So you have a business, you have a brand, you have a Google business profile, utilize all this stuff, and you can use ChatGPT to help you create a good response, a good high quality response, maybe highlighting some of your core values. Hey, we started up this business just last year. We're all about honesty and integrity. We stand behind our work, et cetera. And then maybe you could put a link to your Google business profile so people can come check out your reviews. Obviously, once you get a high quality website, which you can also get at handymanmarketingpros.com. And once you get that, you're going to want to link that in there as well. Just whatever you do to set yourself, a bar higher than all these other people. You may not get that specific job that person's asking for, but other people that are looking for a handyman are going to be scrolling the comments. And there's people that they've dealt with all those people that come out of the woodworks that say they could do it for $20, right? And they don't want to deal with that anymore because it's a hassle. They do the work, something breaks, then they just fall off the face of the earth. They're ready to hire someone that is honest, has integrity, has a good website, has a lot of reviews, has good branding, and you want to position yourself as that person. So those are the two main things that I'd recommend for people to start up with is a Google business profile and just posting on Facebook and getting involved in Facebook community groups. There's obviously a whole lot more stuff to do, but those are the first two things that I'd recommend for people to do to kind of get their first leads coming and then create a marketing funnel so that they can continue getting more leads through that Google business profile because you've started gathering reviews. And, you want to set goals for that. Like that's really a metric that you want to track. So once you create your Google business profile, let's aim to get 50 5-star reviews in your first year. And then in your second year, let's aim to get, another 75, right? So keep growing that thing. And then once you have like 300 reviews, like, man, you're going to be unstoppable. Like you're going to be the handyman in your community. And it's really not that hard to get at. Like it's so crazy because we started up this new challenge at work of getting reviews, 5-star reviews. And we have, I think, 344 reviews. We have almost 350, which I'm super stoked about. But we've gotten probably we're averaging, I think it's like 30 reviews a month right now, which is crazy.
Wow.
Because if we had been averaging that for the last 9 years, we'd be insane, So reviews are huge, and it's something I didn't figure out till much later in my business, but reviews definitely help, turn that needle for sure.
That's crazy. Yeah. A quick story on the reviews train. there's a burrito joint not far from here that when I moved here, looked up, Mexican or burrito near me,
Mhm.
and this place pops up with over 2,000 reviews.
Wow.
And they're not that old. And I was
Uh-huh.
like, and they were, pretty like, upper 4.8, 4.9, whatever. So,
Wow.
so an amazing score. And obviously now the first suggestion. So I'm like, I got to check this place out. I went in and, it's pretty standard on the inside. But the owner is always there. And it's basically like a Chipotle line. You walk through, they build your burrito. Um, and at the end, the owner who's there every day, he's making the burrito sometimes he's just talking. At the end, when you pay, he's like, hey man, I just want you to go to Google and leave me a review. I don't care if it's 1 star and you're telling me that I did a terrible job and what I can do better with, or it's a 5 star because you love the burrito. I just would
Mm.
really appreciate a Google review to tell me how I can do better or tell people your experience today. He says that to everyone who walks
Wow.
through. And he was
Mhm.
crazy to me because I hadn't really had someone that directly ask for a review like in person before,
Mhm.
but it wasn't off-putting at all because he wasn't forcing a 5 star review. He was just asking like if I would take a second to give him any
Yeah.
sort of feedback, and it works. Like literally he has 2,000 reviews and none of them are like giving him a 1 star saying, I can't believe he asked me for a review. They're all just giving him a review based on their experience, and all it takes is that one little ask and no one's annoyed by it. So I love
Yep.
that. The other thing I love, and you just mentioned, everything you said was free. Google
Mhm.
business profile, free. Posting on your Facebook page, free. Making a unique Facebook page, free. Asking your friends and family to refer or like click repost, free. All of that stuff just takes a little bit of your time and then it'll get the snowball rolling.
Mhm.
And I also love that you mentioned Jason over at handymanmarketingpros.com. He's going to be our guest on actually in a few weeks. So
Yeah.
big shout out to Jason. Um, he will make you a phenomenal website
He will.
and get you listed in those rankings real high. So excited to have him on in a few weeks. So that's how you get started. That's how you're getting the ball rolling. Now I want to ask you operationally. And I know you're going to be super excited to talk about this because I mentioned it at the beginning. You just launched a new tool. What operationally do people need to run their business on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah. So the number one thing that you want to think about now that you have, your Facebook page, people are, coming to you, you have people leaving you Google reviews, like you have things coming in, you've started that operation. The next thing you want to think about is upping your professionalism as a business, right? And the number one way that you do that is through a CRM, an invoicing estimating CRM platform. And we just launched one like Taylor said here, called Handyman Champion. We launched it September 1st of 2025, and it's awesome, phenomenal, and it's got so many things that we are planning to build into the Handyman Champion app, that it's going to blow it out of the water. So really cool because I've used a lot of different CRMs over the years, and we've kind of taken all that information of like what I wish a CRM did, and we are jamming that into Handyman Champion. So at the end of it, probably in about a year or so, Handyman Champion is going to take the place of like 5 different apps that I currently use in my business, but it's all going to be handled with Handyman Champion. So it's absolutely fantastic. And I think one huge thing that sets you apart with a CRM is professionalism building into your business. So like we said it before, is you can have professionalism by the way that you show up, the way that you communicate, the way that you talk. But one huge way that I think most people don't like, use in their business is professionalism, like in software. And what a CRM does for you is it will allow you to create a high quality sorry, not a website, a high quality estimate with your logo on top and with all the itemized, labor and all the materials and mileage charge and everything like that. And Handyman Champion also allows you to accept payment through that app as well, so people can pay with their credit cards. Obviously, they can pay with check, pay with Zelle, things like that. And that's pretty fantastic too, because, one thing that we hear from a lot of our clients is, man, I just love how easy your like payment processing is, or how easy your scheduling process is, or how it reminds you of jobs that are coming up, or scheduled jobs, or things like that. So it's really kind of having a business partner in your back pocket, on your computer, on your cell phone, that actually helps you run your business more efficiently. It not only allows you to create estimates, allows you to create invoices, but the CRM aspect is a customer relations management tool. So it stores all of your customers' information. So maybe you worked for someone 5 years ago, right? It stores their information into that so that you can have touch points with that client. You can maybe send them a text blast, an email blast, et cetera, reaching back out to those people. And so a CRM is massively beneficial when you're talking about creating professionalism, and really having that professionalism to back up kind of what you're saying on Facebook. Like if you're in those Facebook groups and people are asking for a handyman, like, hey, we are professional, right? And one of the ways that we are professional is by having a high quality CRM software that we actually pay for, that helps the job streamline more and run a lot more efficient. So I think that would probably be the next step after you've created the Facebook page, started getting leads, you have reviews coming in on Google, is getting yourself plugged into a CRM. The one I'd recommend is Handyman Champion. We actually offer a free 30-day trial. So you could try it out for free for 30 days, like absolutely fantastic. And then at the end of those 30 days, if you find that it's not a fit for you, you can cancel, right? I'm pretty confident that you will find that it will be a fit for you, and it's fairly inexpensive too. So I'd highly recommend that. Check it out. But CRM is a game changer for your business.
I love that. And if anyone is interested, where can they find out more about Handyman Champion?
Yeah, I guess I should say that, right? So handymanchampion.com.
Okay.
Yeah, handymanchampion.com. Right. Yeah.
handymanchampion.com, free 30-day trial. Now I know you said you just launched in September, so it's available today. I know when we talked before, you said you launched with quite a number of features already today, but your vision for the future is just the best software possible for a handyman business. Where you don't have to tell me what features are coming or anything like that, but what is the vision? Like as this grows past this launch phase, and I know what you already have is amazing. How do you see this blessing business owners next year and the year after? Why is it going to be different than some of the competitors in the space?
Well, so a lot of software and thing like that, it's really just a money thing, right? And we've always been really focused on like changing lives. Like that's our biggest thing, is bringing hope to people. So like I said, in my business right now, like we have 6 employees, and we use, I think, 5 different softwares that we have to pay for, different subscriptions, right? Whereas like, I'm like, what if we could just like combine all of these, and we only have one subscription that's actually cheaper than all the other subscriptions combined, so that it fits with the handyman. So it not only takes care of their pocketbook, but it also does all these other things, a lot cheaper and a lot better. So for instance, like one is like, we use a software for gathering reviews, or like a review automated follow-up process of like, it helps you get more reviews by, dripping, like creating a drip campaign for your clients. After they pay an invoice, it sends them an email, then it sends them a text, and et cetera, until they leave a review. Well, that's going to be built into Handyman Champion. Another one is we use a different piece of software to store all of our pictures and create like a picture database. Well, that's going to be built into Handyman Champion. We use another piece of software. I think this is probably one of my most fun things. I'm kind of spilling the beans on all the stuff we're coming out with, but I'm pretty stoked. So, is a missed call text back. So that means when you're busy, you're up on a ladder replacing some siding, and someone calls you and it goes to voicemail, right? Because you missed it. It actually sends them a text message, say, hey, Jim, thanks so much for calling. This is Alan with Honestly Handyman. I'm so sorry I missed your call. I'm busy on a job right now. Send me a text with some pictures of what you need done, and I'll get back with you. Like, it's super simple. We use another piece of software for that. Well, Handyman Champion is going to do that. So I'm just super stoked, and there's a lot of potential for the Handyman Champion CRM. And yeah, I'm just super stoked about it because it's gonna take the place of all these different softwares. It's gonna make it way easier. Where it's like, as a handyman, for me, I never had anyone telling me, okay, go download this, download this, download this, download this. I never had anyone doing that. So it was like, I would be struggling with this, for like years. And then I'd be like, oh, wow, they make a software for that. Like, I'm going to download that. And then, and then I'm struggling with something else. I'm like, oh man, I wish they had this. So I'm like searching it. I'm like, oh, they have a software for this. So I download that. So it's like, it's been a slow progression, but like, this is going to be a one-stop shop. I'm like really stoked because it fits into the whole vision and the mission of like upping the handyman industry, to some place that it wasn't before. So I'm really excited about it.
I love that. Your passion is just coming through so clear. And I mean, two things that just come to my mind. One, as the co-founder, you have done this before, and that's not always true. So you're speaking right into the needs of handyman. And two, I love that you named it Handyman Champion. We know exactly who you are going to be serving. It's not going to be serving the needs of every industry or every business. You are specifically tailoring all your knowledge into this tool you're building. Sounds amazing. So handymanchampion.com. Sounds like they can get a free 30-day trial. Sounds like there's a lot of tools already that you had just mentioned, and those ones that you additionally mentioned coming soon. This is going to be a really cool 2026, 2027 journey to follow. I'd love to have you back on, maybe after some more tools come out, and we can talk about some of your releases if you're down for that.
Totally. I'm always down to chase the lemon.
chase the lemon together. All right. Well, last thing I want to just ask you before we sign off for today. If anyone wants coaching, or they're starting their business, or they're growing their business, what's the best way for them to find you in the handyman journey and learn more, maybe get coaching, maybe get content to grow their business better?
Yeah. So you can reach out to me. I would absolutely love to chat with you. You can set up a free call with me at any time. Go to handymanjourney.com. So it's handymanjourney.com. There's a whole bunch of free resources on there. We got a great ebook on there that you can download for free. And it really talks about kind of the different mindsets in business and how to excel in business. We also got a few other free things on there, which I like. I created, because I told you guys all about my pricing struggles. I created a free pricing calculator, and this kind of came from like Dave Ramsey. Like I'm a big Dave Ramsey guy. So it's like he has calculators for everything, right? He has a mortgage calculator. He has a debt calculator, all this stuff. So I'm like, let's create a calculator that handymen could go to figure out what their hourly rate needs to be. Like, how awesome would that be? So I created a calculator on handymanjourney.com. You can check that out. And then we also have a bunch of other coaching programs. So we have 3 different coaching programs that I would absolutely love to chat with you about and see how we can help you out. The biggest goal for me is to help people learn about the business side of business. Because like I said, most handyman like me in 2016 get involved in this industry because they're good at handyman stuff. They like to do weird stuff that no one likes to do. And that's great, right? But oftentimes most handymen don't know anything about the business side of the handyman business. So that's what I'm super passionate about, because I was in a place where I had no one to teach me. So I'm super stoked to talk about that. So if anyone wants to reach out, you can set up a free call with me over at handymanjourney.com. I would absolutely love to talk.
I love that. Well, Alan, thank you so much for being on the show today. I've so appreciated all this content and advice you're giving away. If anyone wants to connect with Alan, like he said, handymanjourney.com. If you're looking for a software, handymanchampion.com. Alan will give you a 30-day free trial, no risks, 30-day free. Alan, once again, thank you so much, and I'd love to talk to you again soon.
Yeah, man, I look forward to it as well. Thanks for having me, Taylor.